Hey y'all, it's your girl Eboné, and you're listening to the Eboné Breakdown Podcast, your source for all things responsible and ratchet. All right. Welcome to this week's episode. We have a great guest this week. It's my sister in podcasting, Eboné, entrepreneur and host of the Professional Homegirl Podcast. You've definitely seen me share her episodes on social media, and we just have a really, really great conversation, a little about podcasting and how she was able to get signed to Charlemagne's Black Effect podcast network, why she got into podcasting. And we also talked about like the time shift and how timing is everything and why timing is critical in the pacing, spacing of your life. So you want to stick around for that conversation, okay? We're going to hop right into it. Pick of the week. Booney's pick of the week this week. I actually re-downloaded Apple TV Plus because I wanted to check out the documentary Number One on the Call Sheet. It was really great. It was a 2-part documentary series. One part focused on the rise of Black actors in Hollywood, and the second part focused on the path of Black actresses in Hollywood. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. Number one on the call sheet was not a term that I even knew because I'm not in that world, in that space. But I just really think you all should check it out. What I did find interesting in the one that focused on the male, let me back this up. First, I thought the pacing and the way they told the stories were completely different. They were even shot different. Like, I felt like the one that focused on the men was bright and airy, and it talked about struggles, but it focused more on like how they progressed in their career. Whereas I felt like the actresses episode focused more on the plight, the struggle, how much harder Black women have it in the industry, and how if you use the metric of success for actors, which is winning the Oscar, you know, how that's, you know, few and far between. And so it was just very interesting, the thematic angle that it was shot from and the lens that each episode focused on. But they were both very well done. There was some actresses that I'm like, it would have been nice to have heard more from them or to even have been included. But on the actor front, they focused a big part on Eddie Murphy. And if you guys know me, you know Eddie Murphy's like a part of my trinity when I was growing up. I really fucking love Eddie Murphy. Like, I would love to meet him one day. But I did the eyebrow went up a little bit when they did the part on The Rock. When I think of Black actors in Hollywood, I don't think about Dwayne Johnson at all in any capacity. No slight to him, but I just thought that was an interesting take. But then I saw Kevin Hart produced it, so I'm like, oh, they're buddies, they're friends, and Kevin Hart included himself, another person I would not think of at all when you think about Black actors in Hollywood. But, you know, there you go. When you produce it, you get to include yourself. But check it out. Booney approved. It's on Apple TV Plus, number one on the call sheet.
Housekeeping.
Come back later, please.
Housekeeping.
Not now.
All right. So, you guys, I took a week off last week because I had a vacation. I just needed to take a break. Life was lifing, and I just had to take a break. But I do want to say thank you all for listening to episode 263. It was a solo episode with your girl. And in that episode, I shared that not recently, but I had a hysterectomy. And some of the messages that I've received, some of you asked me not to share them. Some of you signed up to be in a future episode with me, which I love. And I can't wait to record and to just shine more light on women's reproductive health. So I just want to thank you all for the feedback. If you have not listened to that episode, go on back, last episode 263 with your girl, and we get into it. All right. I also want to shout out Patreon. Shout out to the Patreon gang. We had a great book club session last week. We read the book Good Sex with Dr. Candace Nicole. Dr. Candace was on about 2, 3, 4 episodes ago. If you want to check that episode out, I encourage you all to go ahead and subscribe and get your book. Also, Patreon community, you have one more day. You have one more day to change your plan. Just for everyone's knowledge here, if you're interested in joining the Patreon community, we welcome you. We have a good time in the Discord. We kiki over there. But there's just going to be one level. There's just one $6 level to join the Patreon community. It's just easier for me to manage that way and making sure I'm giving value for your dollar. I never want to take advantage of it. I appreciate every penny ever spent and used to support the Boonie Breakdown podcast and your girl. So just want to put that out there one more time. You can head on over to patreon.com/the Boonie Breakdown to sign up or to change your tier, your membership tier. All right. And if this is your first time listening, welcome. I hope you follow us on social media at the Boonie Breakdown on Instagram, on Facebook. If you're listening and you like this, make sure you've been listening for a while and you've now subscribed to the podcast, but you have not given us a review or hit those 5 stars over in Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Be sure to do that. All right. So that's it for me. So let's get ready to break it down. All right. We got a new one here. This one, people that I met on the internet and meet in real life are always faves of mine. And so welcome, Eboné, to the podcast. What's up, girl?
I know. Y'all, I was just telling her off the air that I have finally made it to podcast heaven.
I literally was trying to think, I don't remember how we found each other on the internet. Do you remember?
So the one thing that I do remember about us is I think I was trying to just find my tribe, right? And so I think I found you on Instagram and I hit you up and I was like, hey, I would like for us to meet up or something or virtually meet up and have conversation, help each other out. And you was like, well, how much it costs? Cause I ain't got it. And I was like, no, nah, girl, this ain't no scam. I ain't trying to take your money. Do you remember this?
I vaguely remember this now that you say it, because here's the thing. Well, I'm talking to Miss Big Time now. She's on the network, please, guys, now. Please. She's big time now. But
still working like a $2 hole, y'all.
For being an indie podcaster, I always get these spammy emails. Oh, I found your podcast in the directory, or I get the DMs we should collaborate. So I always have my wall up. Is this a real person or a bot?
But then I think we started following each other. Yeah, I think we just started following each other and then we just built a rapport over how many years it's been?
It's been years now.
Yeah. And then I came out to support you for your show. You came to me.
Yeah. So it's been quite some time. But yeah, so I'm joking her because we're always we're podcast sisters.
Mm-hmm.
She's big time. She's on the Black Effect Network, guys. Big time.
Me, I had to work hard, child. I feel like sometimes I be trying to find a cure for a disease we don't know.
People always love, and I'm sure you get this all the time.
What?
I'm starting a podcast. Can I run some stuff by you? I'm starting a podcast. You mind if we chat? Because I want some advice. And the one thing I tell people all the time, just be an influencer, be a blogger, because podcasting is expensive and it's a lot of work and a lot of time.
It is expensive. It is hard work. It is dedication. It is time consuming. It is delusional at times. It is a lot. I love entrepreneurship. I've always been an entrepreneur, but this has been by far the hardest business I ever created, because you have to be consistent.
And it's so crazy because my friends will know I would rarely stick with something. I would do something, but when it became too much, I'm oh, okay, I was just doing this for fun. Bye, And for this, I really obviously have stuck with it because I totally missed the podcast 8th anniversary. So even though I take breaks in here, I stuck with it.
Yeah.
And so I love it, but it is a lot. And I tell people all the time, like, I am scouting guests. I am booking guests. I'm doing the show. I edit my show still. I
Yeah.
do my marketing. Like, all of that is all me. I do promo. I do strategy. I
It's
do
a lot of work.
pricing. Like, you're doing all of that yourself.
Yeah, I always tell people because I don't know if you remember when there was a shift where, you know, a lot of people was talking shit about those who have 9 to 5s and they wanted to become an entrepreneur. And I'm like, I wish I was like one of those people who wanted to grow within a career trajectory because at least you know where the hell you going. With entrepreneurship, you gotta wear multiple hats and you gotta figure shit out. And sometimes you just going off a blind faith. Like it's a
That's
lot
the
of work.
truth.
Yeah. And
It,
like
it, so much work.
it's so much work. And like, I believe in my brand. I love my brand. It's my passion. It's my purpose. And even though I'm with a network, I still do a lot of my work because I want it to be, it's my baby. I want it to be just as successful as my network does. So think twice before you get into this podcast game, baby, because I just started making money. Maybe I've been with the network for almost 3 years. So 3 years ago.
Wow. Damn. 3 years flew by.
I know,
It's
right?
been 3 years.
They say it go by fast when you're having fun, right?
Damn. I didn't
I
feel like it's been
know.
that long. I thought it was like a year and a half. Damn, 3 years.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
just
been
feel like after 2020, what is time? I have this whole theory that I feel like 2020 was like a massive time shift. Something happened in 2020 and it's just I don't know what happened. People don't know how to drive anymore. What is
yeah.
the perception of time? Just like the way people move, I just feel like 2020 was just this weird time shift. And ever since, perspective is just blown to hell.
I will say that I've been having a lot of discussions about time. So this is funny that we're talking about this, and it may sound crazy, but I feel like time is not real.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
I feel like sometimes, so I live in New York City and sometimes I'm in like the train stations and I would just watch people go by, like people watch and like you can really just see time going by so fast. And like, I'm like, you think this shit only happens in movies. So I'm just been so like fascinated and like going down deep dive and all these conspiracy theories and shit about time. Cause I'm like, right. I'm telling you, something is happening. I would
That's what
say
I'm
that.
like, and it's like, the whole Mandela effect. Do you know about that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Where
yeah.
it's like examples of people who don't know. It's kind of like it'll be these shifts in the what do they call it? The universe or
Uh-huh.
where
Or
the
glitches.
matrix,
Something.
yeah,
Right.
glitches where some people will distinctly remember something
Right.
but
Like
it doesn't
Shazam.
exist, but you have this vivid memory. One of them, for example, is like the Bernstein Bears. Like some
Yes,
people remember it
yes.
as Bernstein, but some remember it as Bernstein, like Stain. And I'm like,
Right.
no, it's not
It was
AIN,
steam.
it's E. But then when you look it up, it's a goddamn A in it. Or some people are like, it's Sex in the City or Sex and the City, right? It's just these
Right.
little glitches where people are like, no, I know, I saw it. And yeah, I feel like 2020 was one of those big glitches in the Matrix because
Yeah.
everything's been off kilter since.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like sometimes when I think about time is I think about my childhood and I'm just like, yo, like, right? I thought it was only just me, but sometimes I be thinking like, damn, was I really a kid? Because some things I just can't remember unless I'm in therapy and I'm like, she's walking me through certain things, but like I just be thinking about a lot of shit and it be having my mind just blown.
I think time is it really is an interesting construct, right? Because you always hear
Sure.
the thing like you hear so many things. Time is money. Um, Time is the only thing we can't get back, right? And it's like all these things
Yeah.
about time. But I agree. I think about timing in the grand scheme of my life, and
Yes.
it's little stuff like and I'll share. Like I was just in a car accident, and I was thinking about I was rushing to get out of the hair salon. I just got these braids.
Hmm.
And if I had just slowed for 30 seconds,
Mm.
maybe I wouldn't have been at that light at that intersection at the same time that man decided to run the red light, right?
Right,
But I
right.
was rushing, like, I gotta go get to what I was trying to get to. And so I think about time like that little stuff, like 30 seconds could have been a difference of this and that. But then I look at time in the grand scheme of like life. where things happen to you, but then how things show up at your life right when you need it. For
Yes.
me, timing is all I look at that and I'm just like the timing and sometimes the pacing of my life, when I look in retrospect, I'm like, "Well, shit."
Facts.
Right?
Yo, that's so funny you said that because I'm going through that right now with some personal goals I will achieve. And I remember going for those personal goals when I was younger and it didn't happen for me. So now it's happening for me now. And I think about like, damn, like I wouldn't appreciate it then the way I'm appreciating it now. And I don't think I would have handled it correctly if I would have got it back then compared to now. So like timing is just a funny relationship that I have that I'm trying to learn how to like do better with because everything does happen for a reason. So I agree with you, sis.
Yeah.
It's
I I wholeheartedly like I know it sounds so cliche, like it all happens for a reason, but I will look at stuff in my life and the testament of my life. And I've shared this on the podcast. Like my father was not in my life growing up. And
yeah.
I've had the blessing of a second chance in the sense that we connected when I was 21, 22, something like that. But it was
Yeah.
right around the time that my grandmother, who was my everything, was diagnosed with cancer. And
Mhm.
so looking back, when I looked back at it, like she was starting her transition to leave me. And
Yeah.
here comes, the man who's my father to
Mhm.
start that relationship. And so I look back at that like, was there even space? And I know this sounds crazy, but like, was there even space for that relationship while my grandmother was still present? I
Yeah.
don't know. But
No.
I do know that his timing of where it started was
Yeah.
needed.
I didn't know we had this much in common because my father wasn't in my life, and he recently, a couple of years ago when I was in my 20s, we were trying to have a relationship, and my father is a drug addict. So
Mhm.
at that time, I don't think that I was ready to receive him and meet him where he was at, and I also think that he came with a lot of shame. So last year for Christmas, I had like this deep desire to like just be like, girl, it is what it is. Like, you gotta meet this nigga where he at because I do have a desire to know more about where I come from. And unfortunately, I don't have a relationship with my mother. So I'm like, I gotta at least get to know one of these niggas and it's gonna be him. So, you know what I'm saying? And so it was a really beautiful conversation that we had. And it was a very honest conversation. And I think for the first time, especially with me being older and just with everything that I went through in my life, I finally was able to see my father as a man. And that
Mhm.
just that, you know what I'm saying? So I agree with you. I think that sometimes you just gotta allow things to happen when it's supposed to happen and just be ready for it and just accept it and be open because I think that if I wasn't where I was at now in my life personally and spiritually, we could not have been in a good space where we at now. So
No, 1,000% agree. So,
yeah.
yeah, time shifts, all this stuff. It's crazy.
Right, right.
But and it's funny, I didn't even really want to plan to talk about that, but before we hit record, she said something, I wrote it down. I said, we're gonna talk about it. But yeah, I do, my friends will often hear me say, it's either you can boil down any decision to time versus money, right? And I will say that like as I'm trying to curb my spending, because I spend a lot, I can spend some money now.
I can spend
Um,
the
I
bag.
can spend some money. I will treat myself once and never stop. And so
Baby, too.
I'm looking at this like, okay, do you want to spend X amount of your life paying for this? Like, I have to quantify things in a different way for me because money, I'm like, oh, that'll come back. It'll come back. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
get what I want because it makes me feel good now. So I look at it like that way too. Or I'm like, okay, either you're gonna pay the money for blah blah blah, or you're gonna expend your time to execute blah blah blah. And I usually can make quitty fast decisions when I break it down to the time or the money, then I can make
Yeah.
a decision. I don't toil. It's funny the things that I can get fixated on that will stress me out and I will dig, dig, dig before I can make a decision. That is very rare. I'm usually pretty like, I'm just gonna do it. Fuck it. And then
Yeah.
I'll deal with the fallout or whatever later, but just fuck it.
Right.
Gotta make a decision. So
If I got the coins, I'm spending it as far as like, cause some things I just don't have the time for.
mhm.
Like for instance, I'm like, damn, like I can cook, but I really don't enjoy cooking. And so, and the reason why is because when my grandmother had Alzheimer's, I used to always have to cook for her and it was a chore for me. So I really don't like it. And I'm like, yo, once I get to a certain number, like I need to have somebody in here consistently cooking for me because I can be using that time that I'm trying to fucking cook over a slave, over a stove. I could be putting that towards something else that can make me money. So if I got the money, I am going to invest in upgrading a couple of things because I'm tired. I can't do it all. I'm not that girl.
And I feel like that's one of the lies were fed, that you can have it all, you can do it all. And I'm with you. I don't subscribe. You can't do it. That meme used to drive me crazy when people would share it. You have the same 24 hours Beyonce has.
Yeah, Beyonce got help.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
like, fuck you. I don't have her hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, Beyonce don't do shit. They want me to go to work and she do what she want to do. She play with
Yes.
the kids and then she get the nanny. Come here, like no, and that's
So
what
it's like, yeah, she's access to be able to buy her freedom to pour into the things that she needs to pour into. So I don't feel bad. Like my thing, I have my cleaners come every month because I'm not doing it.
That's what
I
I'm
will,
saying.
I'm going to pay for certain things like that. Like I had to talk to Mama Ratchet, like, you need to just pay for laundry services.
Girl,
Some
dead
things you
ass.
need to outsource. And it's okay. I don't think women should feel shame, or anyone should feel shame about spending their money to make their lives easier if they have the means to do so. By all means.
That bag. I'm gonna have me a nice little older woman in here cooking me some food every single day. I want a hot cooked meal.
I ain't mad at it. So it's funny too. I did not know we had that much in common either. And it's funny, I do usually would not have gone that tangent, but we're gonna reel it back in. So now we knew a little bit about your personal business.
Yeah.
But can you tell us, how did you start your podcast? Like, how did you get into podcasting? Was it intentional, or did you stumble into this as a hobby and oh no, I got something here and I'm gonna run with it?
So I think it was so at first I lost my grandmother maybe like 7 years ago, and I went through a really crazy depression to the point where I was suicidal. And so I was like, oh no, I got to go get some help because I never experienced losing someone as close to me as I did with her. So I went to therapy, and my therapist, shout out to Dina, older, cool black lady, looked like somebody's big sis, right? So she looked like us, she spoke like us, and she really gave me the tools and the resources that I needed to get back on track with being the best version of myself. And so during that time, I was like, damn, this is kind of cool. Cause I always had the superpower of people just coming up to me and just telling me all their damn business. Right. And so I'm like, what if I was to be able to just create a platform where, people can come on at the time, just women, and we can just kiki, because I do feel like, people think that Black womanhood looks a certain way. And I think that that's the reason why we get judged so harshly, because they think that we all have the same experiences, which is not the case. So I was like, let me just try my hand at this. And at the time, I was listening to podcasts. I used to love text on podcasts, free text.
Oh yeah.
And then I used to listen to The Read. And I was just like, because that around that time, that's when podcasting has just
infancy, yeah.
Exactly. And then I was like, so let me just try it. And then, I found my purpose through my pain. And I just started potting, and I just started meeting people, because I'm like, y'all telling me y'all business anyway. So how about we make y'all how about we make y'all anonymous? Nobody's gonna know who you are, and come on the show and let's just kiki.
Look, okay. So if you've not listened to the Professional Homegirl podcast, and I have shared in my Insta story, so you should have at some point listened to an episode or two at this point. But it's always the ones that grab me in. Now I have fallen off terribly of listening to podcasts,
Me
but
too.
I listen to the ones, and some of it is by design, because I want to support, but I don't want to osmosis something I heard or seen someone do, and then next thing I know, I'm replicating that. But certain people, I listen because I know what the downloads mean. I know what it's like to be on the other side. So But it be the titles though. My mother gave me away to a one-armed gay white man. I was listening to that like it
Such a
was
good
the
conversation.
lady who like it was another one with the bank robbery one recently.
Oh, her and her husband robbed the bank. Love them. Love.
Yes. So it's just like some of it be the episode titles. So I feel like it is very complimentary in the sense that it's responsible or ratchet. It was the confessions of the BBW porn star.
Yes,
So
that was
like
a good one.
so yeah, so I just like you hear these titles, you guys. If you not checked out the podcast, please do. But what is a professional homegirl? Like that's your brand, that's your baby. What's a professional homegirl?
So, a professional homegirl is just simply, truly just being yourself. I feel like a lot of times, like for me and my story, I was taught at a very young age on how to show face. So, I don't know if you know this about me, but when I was a child, I was physically abused. And I went through a lot when I was a kid, but you would never know because I was always happy. I was always the kid that was doing all these things. I was very involved in extracurricular activities, but meanwhile, I'm at home getting my ass beat. So I feel like with the professional home girl, like I think that's the reason why it is so popular and it is doing so well because people see themselves in the name. Like it's just truly embracing yourself, whichever phase or however you want to show up in the world, do it. So if I want to be my pretty self, I'm gonna do that. If I want to be my ratchet hood self, I'm gonna do it. But like I just feel like we don't have a lot of spaces, even in 2025, where we can just fully show up and take up space however we desire to be. So that's what a professional homegirl means.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's talking to the right person. Because it is a duality to life, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know how to pull it together, but don't try me because West fucking Baltimore will come out too.
Fact.
So
You know what I'm saying?
we gonna have a good time. I'm gonna laugh, have a good time, but don't try me.
I ain't no
And it's
killer,
funny
but don't
because
push
I
me.
had to um at work recently.
Mm-hmm.
I had, and I'm a true millennial manager. Like I don't care when you're taking off. I don't care how you're losing your lead. Is the work done? Great. But in this current climate we're in, somebody tried to try me. And I got a message and it tapped and it was early. It was before 9 a.m. and it tap danced on that nerve. And I was sitting there like I'm looking at the screen like, yep, meet now. Everybody get the hell up in here.
Right.
They had to meet West Baltimore before 9 a.m. But
Stop playing with me.
don't play with me. I'm so laid back and go, but don't play with me. So I do think it's the duality that, especially as Black women, right? We have to navigate these spaces. We have to sometimes code switch to either be safe or just to make it out unfazed, right? And so the same thing, I had to unapologetically tell a listener one time who DM'd me about something I said. And I said, well, sorry, but my podcast is for Black women, right?
Yeah.
It's not exclusive, but what I'm putting out, I would have the lens that I'm a Black woman, and I want to support other Black women. So that is the lens that my content will always have. You're welcome to listen, but don't ever tell me how to run my own shit.
Yeah, people, we gotta stop doing that. Like, this ain't your shit. This my shit.
Yeah, like
If you
don't.
want to do something where you want to have everybody on, then you do your own shit. But I created this, like, because I had somebody do the same thing for me with a professional homegirl. And I'm like, no, this is a love letter to Black women, women who look like me. The professional homegirl is a pink print for Black women. It's a place where I needed a place to go to when I didn't have a space to go to when I was going through my shit. So, no, don't tell me what to do with my damn show.
Yeah, like
Like,
we're not gonna do that. But yeah,
right.
it's just always the audacity. And I'm curious, do you get this in your DMs? I recently had and I'm pretty good about my DMs.
Yeah.
I may not watch everything people send me because it'll be a lot. But if I get it enough times, I'm like, okay, this is probably something relevant to something I just recently posted, the episode this week, something I talked about or ranted about. So let me watch it. But I do have a couple people who just are like, it crosses the line of scary to me, where I'm like, oh, we have a podcast listener relationship. Like, I'm not your friend. So do you like get that sometimes?
Okay. So my lines is a little bit blurry because uh, fortunately, a lot of not a lot, my day ones have my number.
Okay. Ooh.
Yeah, but I will say, because maybe my professional homegirls know how I am, I will say that they do respect my boundaries. So they don't text me all late in the hours or anything like this. And obviously there's a relationship there, right? Where I feel comfortable with them. And like they'll send me something like, for instance, one of the episodes I interview a woman whose mother was passing for a white woman, right?
Oh, all right. Listen to that one too. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So this woman, she's very white presenting, but obviously she's a black woman because her mom was black,
Mhm.
but she looked like a Karen. And so my listener, she was texting me and stuff, and we was talking about it, and I could tell she was feeling a little way about this woman being on the show. So sometimes it has been a really good balance between obviously wanting to know what my audience thinks and like, my day ones, because I do care about them because they've been with me since I first started podcasting. But then you will get those who like hit me up at like for instance, one person hit me up at like 11 o'clock last night. Then she spelled my name wrong. And I was like, girl, like, first of all, I don't talk about PhD after hours. Like, unless I'm talking to myself. And
Mhm.
two, spell my damn name right.
At minimum. It's
At
fun.
minimum.
I have she's been on my podcast. We joke how we met. It was kind of crazy. My friend Joy had wrote a book
Mhm.
and she was speaking at some conference and I was like helping her at her table, like selling the books or whatever. And this girl walks up and shout out to Kiera. But we have the same last name, so we joke. We call each other cousins. So we're like, "Hey,
Mhm.
cousin." But I don't know how this happened because I typically just go by Booney when I'm
Right.
doing podcast stuff. But I will consistently get PR invites, press trip invites, but they're meant to get to Kiera, not me.
Uh,
And
so how does that happen?
no idea. No idea. And it's
Your
got
real name is not Kiara.
no. And we don't look alike.
Right.
But it's just like little stuff like that. I'm just like, y'all didn't even check to see who y'all was sending this to. I mean, so when that happens, she usually declines it because like you don't care. Like, I'm not coming to your museum
Yeah,
opening or
like, do
whatever.
your due diligence, nigga.
But it happened and it's not the same person. It's like
Multiple
I
people.
still do not know how this happens. But, like, so you you say you have this gift of people opening up to you. How do you find your guests? Like, are these people that you know in real life? Do you scout them out? Do they hit you up like, "I wanna share my story?" I'm just curious because it's very interesting
I know. So
storytelling happening.
in the beginning, when I first started 6 years ago, so it was people I knew, like, or it was like word of mouth. And
Mhm.
then as time went on, people would DM me like, "Hey, I think I want to share my story. I listened to your show, and I have a story that I think that you haven't talked about."
Mm.
Or even now to this day, like, I do a lot of research. Like, if something is intriguing to me, or if it piques my interest, I know it pique your interest because at this point, if you've been listening to me for 6 years now, then I know what you like, and vice
Mhm.
versa. So I just do a lot of research. I go on Instagram. I go on YouTube. YouTube has been my bag because people love telling their business on YouTube.
So you said they do.
Be like, God damn.
They definitely do.
Yeah, and then now, we have a new series called PhD Unlocked where we have like
Mhm.
celebrities and notable figures and all that good stuff come on. And so, obviously it's not hard to find somebody who has a platform, and they have the option to disclose their identity as well, which I'm like super obsessed with that series because I'm like, it's something new, it's something fun. And I just recently interviewed somebody who I cannot wait for you to listen to, but it was such a nostalgic vibe. Oh my,
Awesome. That's
yeah.
amazing. Definitely scouring, I'm not on TikTok anymore, but, for good reason.
TikTok.
It's fun, but it's such a time suck. Like, I had to the band was great, even though it not banned, but I was like, "You know what? I can separate." I needed a break. But yeah, Twitter's been helpful. Yeah,
I'm not on Twitter.
I still have my account even though I don't use it, but I would find such like, a viral tweet and I'd be like,
Go down a rabbit hole.
yeah, like okay, let me try to reach out. Yeah, I'm amazed at, and I love it too, because right, like to some degree, and we share our stories as well, but I just feel like the detail that people are willing to go into, I love it. Like, thank you. Please come be on my podcast.
You talking on here, you might as well come over here and talk shit.
Please come on my podcast. Yeah, and I just, I really do love the topics. Like, so I just be looking like, and I be thinking a lot of times when I'm listening, I'm like, where did she find this person?
I know.
Because what?
Now it's so funny because sometimes people thought that I was being a guest as well. And I'm like, how is that even fucking possible? Like, how am I having a
How you
conversation?
gonna change your voice?
Exactly. And then I think sometimes the topics or the conversation, like they just can't believe that this is actually a true story. So they'll be like, where do you find these people? Like, because
Yeah.
on the conversations, sometimes when I'm done with the conversation, I'm like, oh my God, like that was fucking crazy.
I can only imagine. And I think it was like in your men's series, you had the episode, I think it was the man who was like abused by his wife. And I thought that was poignant because it's such a stigma, right? Like men can be assaulted and abused, but we don't talk about, that side. And so, yeah, I thought it's always something thought-provoking or just a very fucking interesting story.
Oh, that was a good one. And then the other guy, I think he was sexually abused by his ex-girlfriend. And then that wasn't the first time he'd been abused by a woman. And I'm like, nigga, you ain't got no cousins or something? Like, because it just kept happening to him. Like,
And I want to find an expert to talk about this
yeah,
because it astounds me and it disgusts me the number of men that I have personally met who have experienced trauma or
yeah,
their first sexual interaction was at the hands of an older woman who was abusing them. But they
yeah.
don't see it as that they were abused or molested. And I'm like, no, like, because I'm listening to people and I'm like, I'm sorry, but like you were assaulted and that should not have happened to you. That was not right. And it's like, no, 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 I lost my virginity. And I'm like,
No. But that's why
no.
we need these conversations because some people, especially with men, like they weren't taught to be aware or certain
Mhm.
things. Like when I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to sit on no man's lap, even if it was my father. Like my mother, even though she was a bug out, she didn't play that. So I think that it's important for us to have these conversations and for men to feel safe because men
Yes.
do a lot. They go through a lot. Like, even when I'm having conversations with these men, sometimes I'm just speechless because I'm like, and these are grown men. So I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I just be feeling so sorry.
Yeah. And it's like, I want to find the right person to have that conversation with because
Yeah.
I keep hearing it and I'm like, this is absolutely not okay. Like, and it was just, I think it was just heartbreaking to hear so many men just say, well, yeah,
Yeah.
I was 9 when I lost my virginity. No, you weren't. You were not 9 losing your virginity to someone at 20.
It's crazy.
Like that is just
Right.
wildly inappropriate. And I hate to be the one to tell you, but you were molested, right? And the reception on that is usually frosty. But I mean, like these are men that I personally know. And I'm like, and if it's this much in this little sample that I know, just to multiply that out, right? So we always talk about the Chester uncle, but apparently we got the Chester aunties out here and mama's best friends too. So
And babysitters,
yes.
big sisters. It's a lot that goes on. So yeah.
Yeah. Ah, terrible. So what's next? Like what's next for you and your brand? Because I know you're always cooking up something over there.
I am. So right now, I'm getting ready to I'm working on the third installation, the third edition of the coloring book. So I have a coloring book. It's very interactive. It's super cool. It goes with the podcast. So for every page that you color in, I think you had one. Didn't I give you one?
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so for every page that you color in, there's a QR code at the bottom of the page. So when you scan the QR code, it takes you to the episode from the Professional Homegirl Podcast. And it's a story that matches the pages that you're coloring. So one of the things that everybody kept saying was, hey, we want to continue to support you, but we need something for the kids. And I'm like, well, my show is not kid friendly. So people will still buy the coloring books, but they would tear out the raunchy pages, whatever. So I was like, all right, so I'm going to create a mommy and me or a big sister and me or a little edition so we can still have the fun Professional Homegirl coloring books that we know of, but also it'll be a little kids edition that goes with it. So, and then also I'm finishing up season 2 and I am so fucking excited because I am tired. So I am getting ready for season 3, but I don't know, something is telling me for season 3, I might have to like tweak a couple of things because, obviously, being with a network, like I'm very happy, I'm very thankful, but I'm still not, I'm not content yet. Like I want more. So for those who want more, you got to do more. Right. So, and I think also like, when you are on a network and, not to compare myself to other people or anything, but when you on a network and you on a network with Destiny's Child and all these other people, like, you just want to be able to be in a space where you can be comfortable enough so I don't have to worry about certain things. So I'm definitely going to be working on a couple of things that I would keep you posted for season 3 and just changing some things up. Cause I've been doing this for 6 years. Like I'm going on 7 years in January. And, I want to get to a point where I have a Professional Homegirl festival. Like I don't think that there has been anything like it compared to what Girl Boss was to other women. And I don't think we ever had anything like that for women of color and women like us. Like, like you said, the duality between, Kiki and being a girl from the hood, but also being a professional and trying to get her coins. So that is something that I am really working towards so it can be successful and be a great turnout. So
Awesome. Well, yeah. I feel you about, tweaking and how do you grow and what do you do? And it's funny, and I've been saying this for a while, and I know people get upset when I say it, but it's like sometimes you got to honor what your spirit is saying, and it's like I feel like I'm in the space of like what's next.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I love the podcast, and I don't want the brand to die, but I think I'm ready to evolve it into something else. But what that is not come to me.
Yeah.
But very clearly I hear the like,
Yeah.
how do we sunset this? And I know people get upset when they hear that, but it's like, I know I won't go away, but what does it look like? And so I'm just like, is it when I get to episode 300? It's like, it's been real or what? But I just feel like I'm in this, it's been a couple months where I feel like I've been sitting here where it's like, it hasn't come to me yet. And I know it will.
It's gonna come.
Yeah. But I'm ready. I don't know. I just feel this. It may be time to go to what's next.
Cool. Yeah, because you gotta think about it. Like, I don't think people understand, like, podcasting is a lot of fucking work. It's a lot of
To bring that conversation full circle, it is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Like, and so, I'm very honest about my journey. Like, I still have my 9 to 5 because I want to have
Ditto.
right before I make this leap to fully, do my business full time. But it's like you gotta have multiple streams of cash flow. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And
I mean,
so,
especially in this economy, right? Like,
hell
I
yeah.
commend the people who, and I have this conversation too because, like, I was at the Big Boy podcast, right? Like, you have horrible was not horrible, is it? Decisions, and
Yeah.
you got the Read is like, if there's a Black Podcasters Hall of Fame, I'm sure the Read would be one of the first people inducted, right? And so to me, those are like the big boy legacy ones, right? And I do feel like there's space and opportunity for everyone to make money. But what does that look like? And I do think, you and we have to be a little bit more creative because they're at the place where they can just keep churning, right? That I'm sure their bank, they have the YouTube money, the podcast money, the shows, the merch, right? So it is several. And now they've made extensions into TV shows and books and I see that and I'm like, that is amazing, right? But I'm like you too. I'm still a 9 to 5 who's doing this, but would love to see some growth. And it's like, yeah, I've been approached by things, but it just either you're
Wasn't
fucking think I'm stupid to sign this
right.
agreement or it just
Yeah.
wasn't the right opportunity. So yeah, I don't know. I just all this is swirling, but it's also exciting because it's like you get to carve out your space. And I always tell my community, I do not take for granted anything. Like if you've spent 1 cent with me,
Yeah.
I am thankful.
Yeah. I have
um,
to say that, when I was starting off and like I was watching Horrible Decisions and the reading stuff, like I remember when they were in a space like this. So
mhm,
that's why I always tell people, don't despise the small beginnings when it comes to your journey and that's why we should continue to support those podcasters because they're literally they paving the way for us to make for our turns to come. Because I
yep.
really do believe that my time is coming, your time is coming. It's just a matter of when the time is going to happen. Because I knew I was going to get a deal with Black Effect. I just didn't know when. And I used to talk about that shit every single day. So I know, oh, seriously, like you
I
have to,
remember you telling me, yeah.
yeah, like I remember, like, so God has already shown me what's to come from my future. I just be like, when is it going to happen? You know what I'm saying? Because it's exhausting. And sometimes sometimes I don't want to do this shit no more. Like I have my moments where I just be like, yo, I'm fucking tired because nobody can see what you see or what God has shown you. So, but I do believe that our time is coming. Like, I mean, who would have ever thought that with being a podcaster, you get a fucking TV show or you get book deals or you get to create another business from it. Like you can do so much with podcasting. It's just a matter of making sure you're ready when the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I always think back to my ex. It was like right around the time the he was like, "You should do a podcast." And I was like, "A what?"
Yeah.
He was like, "You should do one." And I was just like, "I don't know what that is." Like I had not heard of them, and then I heard about
Right.
the read like after we broke up. So I always think back to him like, "Man, if I had listened, like what did he see? And if I had listened
I'm
then."
telling you. Listen, the Reed was with fucking Beyonce. Like, come on, son. Like, it is
Yeah.
fucking possible. Like anything. And I do
Now
believe
look,
that
now somebody's listening to this like, "Y'all started off telling us it's hard work, don't do it." And now
now we saying to do it, right? But I'm telling you, like, podcasting has changed my life, and I have seen what podcasting has done for others. Like, it's just it takes a lot of work, and you have to be a hard worker to be able to survive in this field. And that's just a fact. Whether you indie or with a network, like I still work like a $2 hoe and I have support. So like you have to just keep going if this is what you really want to do because it's a lot of fucking work. And speaking to people who are way more successful than I am, like they be fucking like going through it because it's a lot. It's a lot. And then you also got to think about it. We also competing against the unknown. Like podcasting is literally getting formed right before our eyes when it comes to the industry. Like, so we competing with all these colonizer it's the deals are so easy for them and all this other stuff, but it's very hard for us, especially when we have shows to talk about sex or other things that we want to talk about. Like it's a lot of work. It's a lot of fucking work, but it's worth it.
no, 1,000%. It is very rewarding. The people I've
Yeah.
met, like I never and even as an indie podcast, like I've done tours, I've done shows
Right. In
outside of
New
my
York
home city.
City. Right.
Yeah, so it's like the art of possible is there and you can make anything work, but yeah, you gonna bust your ass though. You are going to bust your ass.
Facts. No, facts. Like I'm telling you, like I just remember like I always been a fan of the Breakfast Club. And I remember
Mhm.
when the Breakfast Club was early stages, when the what did Ray J say? The booty goons were out.
Yes,
I
yes.
did. And I used to always like just right. And I used to just always just study and watch Charlemagne. Like I used to love how he interviewed, like, and to be able to, be a part of something that he built and also just be able to share stages with him and talk to him about different shit, whatever. Like anything is possible. You just gotta be ready when the stars align in your favor.
I love it. So look, we're gonna head right into the breakdown. I'm gonna say
Yay!
a word. You're gonna say the first thing that comes to mind. It could be another word, a phrase, a sound, whatever.
All right.
You ready? First one is always Black women,
Heart.
money,
Okay.
purpose,
Everything.
heartbreak,
Fucking annoying.
s- s- Therapy.
Necessary.
Celebrity podcast.
Fucking annoying.
And last one, passion.
A passion. Shit. I would say me, because I'm always passionate about shit.
There we go.
That was
All
a
right,
good
the professional homegirl. Go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you on the internet, on social media, where they can get the podcast, the coloring book. Just go.
Damn, you know what I'm thinking now? When you said Black women, I should have said professional homegirl. But yes, if you have a story, if you want to listen to the show, support, please make sure to listen to the Professional Homegirl wherever you get your audio at, especially on iHeartRadio. Also, you can follow me on Instagram at The Professional Homegirl and at the PhD Podcast, on TikTok at The Professional Homegirl, and also on YouTube at The Professional Homegirl. And if you have a story, because I will be starting my scouting for season 3, please make sure to email me at hello@thephdpodcast.com. And if you want a coloring book, and maybe we can do a discount code for your listeners. Booney10.
Booney10 sounds good.
Yes, you can purchase your coloring book using that code at www.thephdpodcast.com. Click shop, and then you will see the coloring books.
Perfect. Well, look, I'm glad we finally got to be able to do this.
I can stop podcasting now. I made it.
I'm so happy. Thanks, girl.
Thank you, boo.
All right, that's it for this week's episode. I want to thank our guest, the professional homegirl, Eboné. All right, you guys better support my pod sister. You don't know how much for a smaller podcast, what it means to have a like, a share, or a retweet, a comment, a subscribe, 5 stars. It means so much. All right. So be sure to check her out. All the links are in the show notes. All right. And if you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to listen and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or any apps that you listen to your favorites on. Don't forget to leave us those 5-star reviews, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. All right. You may hear your next review on a future episode. All right. Follow us on all social media. Share the episode with those you love, those you don't love, those you fucking hate. I don't make these goddamn reels for nothing, okay? Have a dope-ass week. Stay healthy, stay safe, and stay sane. Thank you for listening. And remember, the ratchet in me always honors the ratchet in you. Namaste. Until next time.